inspire, empower, grab your girls and soar a little higher. Unlock the fire in you, cause real women don't bitch, no. Real women don't, 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 real women don't bitch.
Hey, thank you for joining me on the Real Women Don't Bitch podcast. This is your proud host, August Crenshaw, aka Mrs. Raw, Real, and Relentless. I am the #1 advanced mental conditioning specialist for entrepreneurs because mental muscle is necessary for implementing successful business strategies. It's time to learn how to beat your business no matter what life throws at you. I have made it my personal mission to provide a space where we discuss the BS we face on a day-to-day basis. Hey, what's going on, you guys? Guess what we haven't done in quite some time? We haven't had a guest. Oh, but we're kicking off 2021 with one. Yay, I'm so excited. Anitra Lane is in the building. Say hey.
Yeah, that's the crowd, right? That's the crowd in the stadium.
And the crowd goes wild. Woo, woo. So listen, for those of you who probably didn't know, unless you've been a follower for quite some time, Real Women Don't Bitch has guest speakers. And the whole thing is about not only helping other entrepreneurs get promo, but allowing you all to hear the journey, the twists and turns and trials of others in business to encourage, inspire, and motivate you and know exactly what's possible. And so I love it when I know, hands down, I don't have to think about it, that I've got a real and a transparent guest that's just going to come on here and slay it. So I'm excited about this. 2021 is here. Nothing's really changed other than a date, but we must say that 2020 took us by surprise. And this woman continued to work on a new project in addition to what she already had going on as an entrepreneur. So some of us stayed where we were, some of us wilted a little, and others of us, we expanded, we grew, we thrive. Yay. So Anitra, I don't like to waste time. I like to get right into it. Let's let the audience know who you are. Tell them something about you, personal and professional, so they can get to know you, Queen.
So let me just tell you, the personal part is my name is Anitra Elizabeth, like the Queen, because that is in my genealogy. We was queens for real. Like on the other side, the gray people, the pale people. Yeah, we was queens and duchesses. I'm just saying. Okay. My last is Lane, but that is my married last name. And so another quick personal, my maiden last name is Akis, which is the heritage to my actual business. And it's spelled ACKISS, Akis, Virtual Management, LLC. And so that was like the little personal, but really I'm married. I have 4 beautiful grown adults, 1 super intelligent grandbaby. She's a little girl. I am retired from the military, retired from cooking for people. Even my husband has to have cereal every now and then, right? Because when you retire, sometimes we retire for every damn thing. Everything is getting retired.
I think I retired early because I'm going to tell you something. I realized, you know what? If I don't want to be in the kitchen anymore than I have to. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's different. But I was the good wife, when I first started this marriage. And I was like, there's a lot of things that I do that I think I'm just following in my grandmama's footsteps, and it's not really me. So I'm going to do the other things like beast this business. How about that? And how about you work with me on getting in this kitchen more? Now, mine don't work as well as yours because we got 2 little kids to feed, but nevertheless, yeah. So in some areas, I just decided to retire with you. But what about your business, Queen? I really can't wait for them to know. about your primary thing, and we're gonna get into why you started the secondary thing. But what's your secondary thing too? Let them know what you do.
My secondary thing is to be a thriver in life, right? But it really is based around my military sexual trauma and helping other military sexual trauma victims and survivors actually learn how to thrive in life and in business. And it's like, it's something that I would say I used to say I was an introvert. Then I was a shy girl. Then I was all this stuff. The word is shit. I was all this shit. You know how we wear the hats, but ultimately I love technology. So in the beginning, I believe that technology was my damn purpose. I was supposed to teach everybody everything they didn't know about technology. Girl, bye. They was like, girl, bye.
But wait a minute, those are two drastically different things. You know what I'm saying? You just came out, you do some things, you're helping military. You didn't say it all the way out yet. I don't want to steal your thunder, but you help women deal with military sexual trauma. You know, when people think PTSD, instead of thinking shell shock, you like, no, it's a shock. But then before that, you were working with technology. Now, you still like that though. That's another personal quirky thing about you. You like dates, you like timelines, you like order, you like using these little gizmos and figuring out little issues on computers and all of that stuff. And it's two completely different things. And so, where do we start your journey before we just hop right into how you got into what is called the Unmasked Warrior Project? How did so you started off in technology. So let's talk about some of the issues with that. Because like I said, I love for ladies to hear the struggles, the ups and downs, the beautiful things. Let's go back when you first decided that launching your business was something that you should do. What kind of things that you experienced? I don't care that you love, that you hated, and different that you think the people should know about, that they could glean some wisdom from.
One of the things that I learned early in my business was that what I knew from the military didn't necessarily transition into what we call civilian life, right? So there are some things that do transition, but one of them that we use like heavily in the military was like a shared internal system, that SharePoint. Some people in business know exactly what I'm saying when I say SharePoint. So SharePoint was an internal operating system software that did everything, right? So I didn't need to know all these extra things. But then you get out and you say, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to take all of these skills that I already know, and I'm going to put them to the test. And test me, they did. So learning that what email marketing was, what tools you need for email marketing, believing that the email that you write needs to be simple, and then going, okay, ain't nobody read that? I thought it was simple. And I think the very first thing I started out was with MailChimp. I'm a techie person, but okay, I had to go back to school. Look, I had to go back to school for my techie. And that was just in one application. And I found that it wasn't as simple as you may have thought. And so I found myself watching YouTube video after YouTube video, because we all do it. YouTube video. And I was like, you know what? Okay, I'm going to watch the YouTube videos, but not everybody. But coming from a techie standpoint, I have two monitors, right? So with two monitors, it allows you to be able to do something. So I could watch the video on one monitor and practice on the other monitor. Now, keep in mind, I still had to pause, be like, he said what? No, that didn't work. I tried that. That didn't work. So it was a lot of self-learning, self-teaching. Yeah. And, as an entrepreneur, you find yourself doing that no matter, what area your expertise is in. you end up going
Yeah.
back to school. And I
Yes, you
ain't
do.
talking about necessarily college. And so I went from MailChimp to Google. What's the top CRM? For those who don't know what a CRM is, it's relations management. Their systems. But I was like, I'm Googling the top 10 of this, the top 10 of that, it was like the top 10 of everything, right? So you get the free version, and then you find out the free version is missing half the crap you really need.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, I tried everything. And not only had I tried it, but some of the stuff I paid for and found myself paying for it after the subscription was over, but I wasn't using it anymore.
Oh, can we stop like really quick? Because that right there is something that a lot of people have done and or need to stop doing because it's so easy. And I mean, for them, it might be Canva. Maybe for 2 seconds, you needed all of the little special features. And so you paid that little extra 12, 13-ish dollars or whatever it is to have those special features. But entrepreneurs do get lost in the land of that. And it's one of those things where even though it's really simple to just say, I'm gonna sign up for something. It has a free trial offer, and then already have your account set to cancel. It's just like it's activated and then go cancel, and it'll leave you active until it's over with. But most of us are thinking, I'm going to learn how to use this. This is going to hit the sweet spot. This is what I'm going to do. And you find yourself avoiding doing those tasks. And so you like, I'm paying for the subscription. Maybe I don't really like this all, but I really don't really like it because I haven't really learned it. I'm a little Googled out. I'm a little YouTube videoed out. I'm a little worn out. And then it's like, dang it, I'm paying for it, so I need to use it. Then you try to go back to YouTube University or whatever the reason is. Bottom line is that a lot of entrepreneurs throw a lot of money down the toilet. A lot of money down the toilet on paying for unnecessary subscriptions. And I've had to tell quite a few of them. I'm like, I don't even understand what are you doing with Entreport? You just started your business and you don't even have any clients. So you're not even paying a little bit. You're paying for the latest, greatest, and all of the features that you don't need. And then some of those people be crying once it's time to pay for a coach. Now, I know I went on a completely different tangent with some of the outcomes, but I want some of the ladies to really think about that and how much money, have you wasted. Some of you that are listening, you wanted to start a business or you're really barely just getting your feet wet. You're going to find out that some of you aren't really that responsible with being aware of where you're putting your money at. And that's not a good habit as an entrepreneur.
Absolutely. And that was one of the things that I can share with you. When you first get started, you feel like you're all alone, right? Because especially if you don't know anybody else who's an entrepreneur, right? Don't know anybody else that's been in the game, or you feel like, well, they're not doing the same thing I'm doing. So you don't actually look out and seek other people.
Yeah.
So then what happens is you're on this journey, you think by yourself, and you're doing all of this testing of everything. I was testing, you name it, I tested it, I tried it, it didn't work. But guess what the biggest problem was? I didn't know who my ideal client was. So I'm out here testing all of this software, and I don't really have the foundation for my business yet. Because see, we'll say, I know what my skill is, I know what I'm good at, and I can help other people do it. Well, maybe other people don't want to do what you're doing. Or maybe they don't want your service yet. Or maybe you don't even know what service you're finna give them, right?
Yeah, no, you just know that you have a skill and you have something that you could transfer. So what did that look like for you reaching out to then say, I'm sure it didn't come to you in that fashion. Oh, I don't know who my ideal client is. But at some point, you realize that you really don't know what you're doing with this business thing. So then what does your coaching journey look like?
Right. Well, okay. So my initial coaching journey, because like I said, I was retired. So I already had money coming in. I was like, I'm cool with how I'm living. I ain't trying to be a millionaire. I just want to chill. So my initial coaching environment was with a family member. And it was because I was organized. So this is what I thought initially. I need to help everybody get damn organized. That was what it was. Y'all unorganized people, y'all need structure and organization. However, that's only because that's what I thought. But that turned out to be my first bartering client. And you will learn when you barter with people and you don't really understand the business, that you may find yourself giving more than what you're getting in the barter.
Oh, yeah, baby.
That is a hard pill to swallow sometimes, a hard lesson, whether it's a great friend, whether it's family. That bartering thing, unless you know what you're doing, you're going to really need to think about that.
Oh, yeah.
Because it doesn't bring in money. You may say, well, I'm learning from it. You know, it's my opportunity to practice. But once you realize that they're benefiting more in the barter than you are, you may find yourself switching up and being upset with them when actually they just got whatever you gave them.
I was about to say it could break up some relationships because you could find yourself feeling highly resentful. And there are some times, I mean, I'm not going to say that I'm a totally anti-bartering, but there's so many things that need to be put in place. But I am the kind of person that if for some reason you were like, oh, August, I want you to coach me, and you start paying me today, it's January the 15th. And then next month on the 14th, I'm like, oh, I need to hire you to, help me do some back office stuff. And it's the 14th. When you send me the invoice, I'm gonna be like, well, you was going to be paying me tomorrow, so why should I pay you today? I'm not going to do that. I would prefer to just pay you on the 14th. And then when your invoice comes, you pay me, on the 15th. And that way we know that we both received whatever it is we've stated the value is for it. And then there can be no judgment whatsoever. And especially sometimes, right? Because if you feel like you're learning, you also run the risk of doing a little extra to make sure that since it felt like it took you a little longer than it should, to make sure they feel okay. But when they doing what they doing, they don't throw in a little extra. And the only person that you really have room to be mad at is yourself, but you will find yourself still feeling resentment for them. So, here it is, you take the nesty plunge, you get out here, you barter. When do you finally say, I realize that my real issue is that I need to get some help and actually pay for coaching? And what did that look like?
It's funny because I did pay for coaching and I wasn't in the season. Again, this is a journey that
they're gonna get a gang of jewels from this conversation.
I tell people, I'm like, when I say I have 4 coaches, I have 4 coaches, and they was all in different seasons of my life, and they all brought something to the table. Because at the time, after my first coach, which is funny because my first coach actually introduced me to the second coach unknowingly. She sent me on an assignment to find out how the woman was making money. Girl, I didn't sign up for the woman's damn. She signed up for the offer. The lady was like, yeah, let me just show you. And by the time she got finished, I was like, oh, I need that. But I come to find out later, it was not what I needed. I just thought I needed. And so even then I was being intentional because at the time I signed up for 2 programs simultaneously, right? 2 different coaches. Because in my mind, one was going to teach me body language, how I could read y'all, even if we wasn't in the room together. I could read you. Now, how I could read you by not seeing you, I don't know. It was just there. But then the other one was teaching me how I can show people to do what I do. Funny part was I didn't know how to do what I do yet.
So and you didn't want to show people how to do what you do. You just wanted to do what you do for people.
Yes, it was so crazy. But ultimately, the second coach and the third coach I had, they brought value. I just wasn't really in a season to receive.
Yeah.
And you have to understand that part, because at the time I was like, I was working. I didn't retire, but I went back to work because sometimes we'd be like, okay, our money get funny, our change gets strange. Let me go pick up a side job. Well, my side job was actually full-time. Then I was like, well, extra money, let me go to school. So now I'm in school. So I'm full-time in school, trying to do a business. And I got 2 coaches. Girl, where was I going to get time in 24 hours to do everything, all the assignments, and actually absorb the information? Because that's another thing we don't do. You can get all the information, not truly absorb it, which makes you not execute on it. And now all you're doing is in learn mode, like learn. I'm just learning everything I can. So one day I was on Facebook. We ain't even gonna talk about my whole Facebook, but anywho's, I was on Facebook because that was not, social media was not my thing. I'm on Facebook. I get this message, and it's an invite from my cousin, and she says, "There is this capture your client live video happening with this lady named August." So after I've had 2 coaches, and I was like, well, I ain't getting nowhere with that. But maybe if I get online and I jump out there, people will know who I am. However, I ain't ready to get online. I can stand up in front of 100 people live, but getting in the online arena, they're not the same thing. So my true unmasking and my journey started with learning how to capture my client that I didn't even know yet, live video with August Crenshaw. And it was an amazing 5 days, as long as I stayed inside the group, because ain't nobody could see me outside the group. I wasn't ready for that part yet. So that was the beginning. Like I said, the business part I already had in my head how I was going to do stuff, but I didn't really know. I just had how I thought business was supposed to work. And so I jump on the Capture My Client Live. So this goes into part of the journey in which I start unmasking, but I don't know that I'm unmasking yet. And it's funny because I actually put on a mask in my very first video of my crazy vibe.
I remember that video. You're like, wait a minute, what is this? I don't even know how I get this off, but I'm doing a challenge, so I'm gonna do this video.
I jumped on. I got on a hat and glasses. I'm looking like the Blues Brothers. And it's funny because in the chat, my cousin is like, that's a filter. I'm like, what the hell's a filter? Because techie people who haven't been on Facebook and done all the social media stuff, they don't know what that is. I was like, a filter? Filter of what? Never mind. I just kept on going with the video, not realizing that as I go through my journey, that video was the ultimate catalyst in actually getting to what I call my purpose assignment.
Gotcha.
And so that was the very beginning. And it's funny because we're talking about it now, but it took me until like a day ago to realize that the catalyst for my unmasking actually started out with a mask and then learning how to move backwards.
Okay, can we pause for a second? Because I mean, you've been dropping jewels just by telling your story the entire time, but I want to make sure the audience doesn't miss some things. You know, we don't really have time for resentment. That's what I'm basically going to say. I'm like you. I've got some, what I call premature investment, signed up with some coaches and some programs. And I tell my story a lot in different parts of it. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of jewels that came out of some of those experiences. Some stuff that I have going on behind the scenes right now is my rendition of what I observed and how I believe that some of those things that were happening basically in the white community need to be brought into the Black community of entrepreneurs that I'm connected with now. There were some things that I invested in, that technology that had me in front of those videos. And even though it was premature, all of it still had value and still has a value. And so for those of you that are listening, you know, you said it. but I want you to just reiterate in your own reason why it's so important that no matter how many skills you have, no matter how confident you are in what it is you're supposed to do, knowing who your ideal client is, you were like, that was the most important thing. So for you guys that are listening, take your time. If you have not made an investment yet, don't get out there starting to buy all the technology. You trying to use Infusionsoft and Entreport and Kartra and you maybe you don't like MailChimp. I understand. Go use MailerLite, or something like that. But before you start investing in websites and getting all this stuff designed, know who you are for real. Take off the mask, and then also know who that ideal client is, because then that's going to be the change to the start. Trust me, after that, all you got to do is have an offer and a link, and you can start making money. You don't have to have all of those other things. But yeah, a lot of bumps and bruises along the way. And some of you, yes, you are trying to do it all. Multiple coaches, multiple opportunities, going to school, going to work. It's a journey. But through it all, if you can just keep your head up, one thing you didn't do, though, is you didn't quit. After all of that, all the stuff you've been through, this has been years of work, because I haven't worked with you for over a year, and we worked for like 2 years.
Yep.
Actually a little long. Let's see. Yeah, it's almost been a year since you and I haven't worked together. And we first started working together in the very beginning of 2018. So you stayed in the journey. So all of a sudden you realize, so you're connecting the dots, and you realize that going through the Capture Your Clients with live video, the unmasking begins. Let's maybe speed us through, some of the things and how you began to transition, because I really want to make sure that before we get out of here, it's not there yet, but I'm cognizant of the time. Yeah, you're a virtual manager, but this new project that you have started, I don't want us to leave here without people knowing who that is. And if you don't mind me just inserting this myself, working with you, I remember we're going through all of the techniques, we're going through all of the different things. And one day I'm like, why did you let that happen, with this individual? And we're having a conversation, and I'm like, what in the world is going on with you? It took you, oh God, I want to say it was like maybe 2.5, 3 months before you finally talked to me about your sexual trauma, which allowed things for us to pivot so that I could also coach you differently. I was working with your mind, your life, and your business, but that openness that you had, that was also another, layer of the mask being taken off, and another level of, transition. So kind of somewhere, speed through what that looked like after going through the challenge to working with me. What revelations did you have? And even after not working with me anymore, how does all this come together? How do we go from being a manager who's excellent in Techy, who thinks she's going to organize the lives of everybody in the world, to realizing that you want to help people thrive in the world, regardless of all that they've been through, especially military sexual trauma?
Okay, so how we transitioned to that was, I have the conversation with August, and we get to the part where, okay, so I have a therapist, and then I have August. So in my mind, I got 2 therapists. One's my business therapist, one's my trauma, my PTSD therapist. Between the 2 of them, they were asking the same questions and making me really have to dig into myself so that I could get to who I was. So through all of this, I was like, okay, what am I really supposed to do? Now, I'm going to just tell you, this is one of them disclaimers. Me, God, and the shower had lots of conversations. Me, God, and the shower. But if you understand the cleansing of when you're in the shower and the water, and you're having that conversation with God, and you're saying, God, help me, and I don't know what I'm doing, and if you could just guide me, that's what I was doing, right? So one day, me and August are having a conversation, and August is like, so if you asking God to help you with clients, well, what are you asking him for? I was like, just to bring me clients. And she was like, okay, that's not, like, you're not being specific enough. I was like, Well, hell, I didn't know I needed to be specific. I just was like doing the blanket. I just want everybody to come. But so I fast forward and I go, and it's about 2 years ago or 3 years when I tell August the story of my sexual trauma. And then when I come back and I'm specific with God and I say, God, please bring to me the people I'm supposed to help and the people that are supposed to help me. Unbeknownst to me, he was already bringing the people to help me. And he was taking me to the people I was supposed to help. I just couldn't see it.
Mm-hmm.
And so out of that conversation, things started to happen, multiple things. I was in a summit. I spent an evening or a weekend in Florida with August and this table of greatness. All of these things were happening. And as they were happening, I was starting to unmask. I was really starting to come out of my shell, and no fears of going live, no fears of talking about what was going on. And so little by little, what I understood was what my purpose was. I'm going to roll back a little bit so that I can share with everybody this part. I was having trouble saying my elevator pitch, which is great that I can say elevator pitch now, because normally I'd be like, you know, that thing, I can't remember what it is, but you know. So I was having a lot of problems with my elevator pitch because I couldn't figure out how to tell people what I do as a techie, right? So when I had an individual, they said, well, what's your purpose? I'm thinking purpose and passion go together, because that's what I've been told. Everybody, you know, your purpose and your passion, they're the same thing, da, 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 da. Well, when they asked me what my purpose was, it was real easy for me to say that I help military sexual trauma victims and survivors thrive in life. It just rolled off my tongue. I didn't have no problem. That was the elevator pitch. Now I was trying to figure out, well, what's the name that I'm going to use as a business to go with that? And that's where the Unmasked Warrior Project came about, because I used to tell my therapist I wore a mask. For over 20 years, I wore a mask to help me figure out, well, to protect me, not figure out, to protect me from those things that would hurt me. And so people would see me and I would smile. I got trinkets, stuff that says Sergeant Smiley, all of this stuff. But that smile was there and put in place so that people would never know what was going on internally. So if I'm always smiling, you're like, she's good. That's what you think. That's what I wanted you to believe. And so as I started to transition and I started to learn more internally about myself, and started to make connections between what God was doing for me and with me, then I learned what my purpose was. And so I can tell you, I have a passion assignment, which my passion assignment is my techie stuff that goes with my ACAS virtual management. I got you. My purpose assignment is, again, Unmasked Warriors, in which I help military sexual trauma victims and survivors. There's a difference between a victim, a survivor, and that person that is ready to thrive.
Yeah.
Because that is the part that is, I believe, hardest for Black women. Black women, I'm specifically talking to us. It is hard for us to be vulnerable. Yeah. Because we grow up saying, I'm a strong Black woman. There's nothing, God won't give me more than I can handle. There ain't nothing I can't do on my own. All of the self things that we tell ourselves and we teach ourselves and we train ourselves to live by, quotes, is everything other than being vulnerable.
You know, I went back to the one time, I think you were in Walmart. And here's the beautiful thing for those of you, you're like, wait a minute, I need to know more about who she is or what she does. Because a lot of you are out here on your entrepreneurial journey and you still have, some sexual trauma that you need to deal with. And on top of that, I'm connected to a lot of people. I know that you're also former military. I want to really encourage you to connect with Anitra. But your healing, when I just think about it, everything in retrospect, because you started this project, it's like, wow. And I remember one time, you reached out to me, you thinking that you're going to call me, get a little intermittent phone call and say a couple things to me. Hey, this just happened to me with this experience, with this client, this, that, and the other. You're a potential client. And I was like, what? Anitra, let me ask you a question first. You do this? Do you do that? Why you ain't do that? And I was like, first, okay, hold up. We got to discuss this, baby. Because the answers that you gave me, I'm like, no, I'm sorry. Some of the stuff we not disclosing. But I was like, no, see, we're going through this thing about you understanding your worth again. Because by this time, and the reason why I'm sharing this, you had finally broke that mold, that barrier, and you were very transparent with me about everything. And you're like, you got me in my car at Walmart. I can't even shop. I'm saying we ended up staying on the phone for an extra like 45 minutes to an hour to like really work through stuff. And so I had no idea what your therapist was asking you. It's not like we were connected. I still don't know who the woman was, man, whatever. It's just the act of God. You know what I'm saying? That we happen to be on the same page and not be connected. I know that was another confirmation, for you. So your vulnerability and your unstripping of the layers, your willingness to talk to me, like you said, that vulnerability is what catapulted your healing to the next level. It's what allowed you to begin to experience the freedom and find yourself. And some of you, you're going to have to realize that even if you pay for a coach, we're not genies. I know sometimes we could feel like a genie. Like, how they know all that? Well, I mean, we do the same shit every day, all day with different people. So it's a muscle, that's very strong that we have, but we still can't do very much without your cooperation. And so you can speak to that need and that the levels of vulnerability because you operate, with that level of integrity. And I want to throw that out there. It took some time, but you guys are going to have to make sure you just find someone that you could trust. And so I'm honored, just in retrospect, I'm very honored that there was so many things that you were working through that you were willing to allow me to partake in this piece of your journey, and share that with me. I'm just honored, Queen.
Man, I have and if you could only imagine having a coach like August, there were times when I was in tears. Those tears were tears of joy and understanding. There were tears of frustration. There were tears of, I don't think she really liked me, even though I know she loved me, but she had said some shit I'm ready to fight over. But it's all part of the journey. And when you learn to be vulnerable, and I'm going to say this because when you've been sexually assaulted, when you go through a trauma, even if it's not sexual, what happens is you lose trust in people, right? And it's hard for you to open up because you don't trust people, because people have done things when you have trusted them and they've let you down.
Right.
And so when you allow yourself to be vulnerable, yes, you're making yourself open to trusting someone with something as personal to you. And so there were many, like I said, many tears through this journey. Do not think for 1 minute that I didn't go back and forth and war with myself. And even one of the times, my therapist, I was thinking, lady, you don't even know me. I'm wearing the mask and we talking right now. And I'm still got this mask on because I wasn't ready.
Yeah.
But when you do get ready and you do become vulnerable, the way that you will open up it'll shock you. You'll be like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah.
And it did. Even for me, I was like, for real? But you'll start reflecting on things and you'll just start seeing more and more of the person that was behind the mask as you take those layers off, you'll get to that point and you'll be like, okay, she all good. And you have no problem sharing. Yeah. And that's where the true purpose comes in. And you really understand that your gift that God gave you was not meant necessarily for you, but for the others that you're supposed to help.
No, absolutely. Now talk to them some about where you're at, because I personally know that this is not another group that you just go join on Facebook. And there's a reason why you did that. Tell people that, you know, eventually may need to click a link that I know she's going to give me to join the Unmasked Warrior Project. Where do you house this? Because most of it's virtual, at least for now, especially with everything going on with COVID. Where do you house the meetings and the materials or whatever for the individuals, and why?
Okay, so I am off of the Facebook platform. I'm on another platform. It's very online. You can go to www.unmaskedwarrior.com. And when you go in there, you'll find lots of tools, right? And I'm using a platform that is being used. A lot of people are using it. It's called Mighty Network. And I'm using that platform so that you have the freedom to be who you want to be. If you want to unmask, if you come into the group and you put up, maybe it's a picture of your cat or dog, because you're not there yet. You don't want people to see who you are yet. I'm okay with that, because I know it's a journey. And I know that there are some times when you don't want everybody to see who you are yet. Yeah. Because you're still in the journey of unmasking yourself. You're still going through the healing portions that you need to, or maybe you're not even there yet and you just want to come in. Now, let me just be real clear about some shit. This is not for nosy people. And when you come to the main page, it's going to tell you, if you are here to be nosy, you here to start some shit, I will shut you down immediately. I don't play with that. Yeah. Because this is an environment so that you're protected. Because I know what it's like to not be protected and be in an environment where you already don't trust people. And then somebody messes you over. So it is strictly offline. We can talk about and share whatever you need to. And it really embodies the whole person. So it is a community-based design, but it's designed for you with everything. When I say everything, it's almost like a one-stop shop. There's my warrior story. There are other warrior stories. There are therapists and people who talk about their journeys in there. There's food, because I want you to be healthy. It ain't just about your mind, it's about your body too. So you can come in. I've got some chefs, and they're military people. I have some plant-based eaters, and they're sharing their recipes and how they cook. Then I have, of course, an area that talks about music, because I want you to think about this. There is music that you listen to that changes the vibration of who you are. In that moment when you're having a bad day, you can turn on certain music and you start jumping around the house and your mood changes, things like that. But then there's those comedians. So I go back and I put some comedy in there. All right. So you could come in one space, but I also have resources. And then I have, let's talk about it. We come in and we go into a Zoom room and we just have conversations, because sometimes you just need to talk through it. Yeah. And so that's what we do. You have all of this stuff and these areas and topics that are available to you 24/7, 365, 366. You can be in there by yourself. You can be in there with others, but it is a safe haven. Yeah. Again, like I said, especially for Black women, because we are the ones that will not get help. Yeah. It's taboo to go see a therapist. Well, if you're not ready to see a therapist, at least think about going to a place that allows you to come in and heal at your pace with different topics to allow you to kind of work through it. And what I've noticed, and I'll tell you this, I know we're getting ready to wrap up, but what I noticed was, as I shared my story with the people around me, because people that know me, they would never know. But as I shared bits and pieces, because I never share the whole story, unless you're in the Unmasked Warrior, you won't get the actual details because it's a trigger for some. And I know that.
Yeah.
But as I share my stories in bits and pieces with other people, what I learned was there were some people who it had happened to. And by me sharing with them and just talking to them about it, and I was actually talking about the Unmasked Warrior Project more than my story and what the community meant.
Yeah.
They started to seek help for themselves. And even if the therapist doesn't work, you still have a space that you can come to. Nobody, when you come in, I ask 5 questions. Nobody sees those questions except for me. I'm very hands-on. I'm very here for you. I've walked that journey and everything. So
I love it. And when you're in there, it's sacred. There is not going to be 17 ads that are going to pop up. You know, you get that. I love being over in the Mighty Network because unlike with the book, AI may still be listening to your devices and maybe they're going to solicit you everywhere else, you know, but inside of there's no solicitation. You know, it's just you and it's just the network and there's no distractions. And it does make it easier to organize, you know, all of those resources that you give than it is to organize those things on Facebook. So for those of you that are like, man, I was coming to get my business nugget, you know, make sure I could push. Well, maybe the thing that you were trying to push through is something that you don't need to push through anymore. It's something that you need to say, I'm going to go get me some help. You know, if your spirit resonated with Anitra's even just a little bit, my thing is, you know, take the jump. And for those of you, you all know me. There's some people on here, they're guests, and I love their energy. And I'm like, hey, they got this to offer. Click the link. And then there are others that I endorse. As you guys heard, you know, Anitra and I have a relationship. And so that means I know what she's about. I know who she is, and I respect what she's doing. And so I'm gladly endorsing, saying like, go over there, you know, and share this podcast out. I know you share it when you hear it, share it on your social media profiles. If it's too sensitive, click and copy the link and message it to somebody. Be like, hey, you trying to, you know, do what you're doing. You know, you need this help. You know, so I want to thank you again, Anitra, for coming on here, you know, and talking to the people. You know, I love the word warrior, period. And the Unmasked Warrior Project is a beautiful thing. I'm excited for you. You've birthed something that's amazing, and it's just continuing to expand. You are truly walking in your purpose now and sharing your story. And I said this at the last summit, but I just want to say it again. I remember how brave you were the first time you spoke on one of the Authentic Collective Summits, and you were like, okay, so, you know, this is what happened to me. And you were really more so in, okay, I'm going to focus. I'm going to share my story. Okay, I did it. Whereas now there's just this energy in this life where it's like, yep, I've been through it, but that's okay. And you've been through it, and I'm through it. So I'm going to help you. I mean, your countenance, everything about you energetically is completely different. And to see it, like I said, this is one of those emotional things where I'm like, damn, I'm like really looking at the metamorphose right here, you know, with my very eyes. And some of you, if you're watching this and you see the video on YouTube, you can see it in her eyes. A lot of you guys, you got the smile, but you don't really have the eyes. And there are some people throughout your life that have come and said some stuff to you because you were smiling, and everybody else, because they wearing their mask too. So they like, hey, smiley. But there are those that's going to look and be like, okay, and when you smiling, this your issue. So go over there. And that's all I got to say. So thank you, Miss Anitra Lane. You dropped a lot of jewels for the business and a lot of love for the Passion Project. Purpose Project. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm excited and I'm glad that I was able to come on and hang out with you all again.
Yes, you're gonna have to come back again. We'll let some other people slide up in here. In the meantime and in between time, y'all, get out there, keep beasting your business. Nothing's changed but the date. We are still in uncertain times, but the times may be uncertain, but we're going to stay certain about the power within. Keep on developing it, keep on thriving, and we'll see you at the next episode. Deuces! Thank you for joining me today. Remember to cultivate a mindset that is biased towards taking action. No bitching, whining, or complaining. Here, our mantra is, real women don't bitch, we get shit done. See you next week as I continue to bring you what you need to keep your head in the game and beast your business. Don't forget to hit subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. Would you like a specific topic covered? Have a question you would like answered live? Then head on over to realwomendon'tbitchpodcast.com. Subscribe to my email list, hit me up, and I got you. Interested in being a guest speaker? You walk the walk? Then you can sign up on the website too. This is your #1 advanced mental conditioning specialist for entrepreneurs, Mrs. Raw, Real, and Relentless. Signing out. Deuces!
Inspire, empower, grab your girls and soar a little higher. Unlock the fire in you, 'cause real